Chapter 70. The Doctrine of Man and the Law. 4 views of man have exercised a major impact on Western civilization. How one views man has a part to play on one's view of law. First and foremost in its influence on the Enlightenment was a view of John Locke, who saw man as a tabula rasa, a blank piece of paper with nothing on it to predetermine its nature. Locke's view was revolutionary in its effect on education. The child's future was determined by the educator, and this meant that the good society had to control schooling. This view also gave great influence to the environment in that the creation of the person was a social task in which school and society worked together to mold a child into the desired person. This was the Enlightenment view, and the Enlightenment saw reason and science as determinative in society. Much later thinkers separated experimentation from rationalism, but in their beginnings in the Enlightenment, the two were very closely linked. A second view of man came with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who insisted on the natural goodness of the child and the corrupting nature of civilization. This view was a development of Locke's view, the neutrality of human nature, but it stressed the innocence of the child. In the poetry of William Wordsworth, this view, the essence of Romanticism, gained even more development. In the Lockean view, education became a major concern of the state in due time. Man, it was held, is what his schooling makes him. Wherever Locke's thinking prevailed, so too did public education. The welfare of society and the future of man were held to require it. In Locke's view, there was an implicit view of the innocence of the child, a clean slate in the world to be preserved and developed in its purest state. In Rousseau's view, this innocence found expression in the general will as it prevailed in society. Being pure, this general will could be coercive because what it required was for man's good. This meant that democratic totalitarianism became the goal of society. Third, a curious view developed among disillusioned humanists, and George Orwell expressed it best. The pessimism of his works, notably 1984, was due to his view of man. The radical depravity of man was affirmed. Behind humanistic man's idealistic slogans about the future of mankind was a grim, quote-unquote, realistic version of a boot stamping on a human face forever. Whether he liked it or not, Orwell's view of man made the totalitarian state a sad necessity. Total depravity requires total control, but with the controls all in the hands of equally depraved men. Hence, the result is a boot stamping on a human face forever, to use Orwell's expression. Fourth, the biblical doctrine of man is that he is a sinner in revolt against God. His total depravity means that his societies will always end up as Towers of Babel, dictatorships seeking salvation in a one-world order which compounds all evils. For Scripture, man in Adam is born into sin and death, but in Jesus Christ, the last Adam, he can become a new creation, born into life and righteousness or justice. Dissolution, then, is not coercion, but conversion, to create then a social order given to justice, to God's law. Man then, instead of making demands of life, turns from the ethos of rights to the ethics of duties, to covenantalism under God. This means a social order in which biblical law prevails and is possible because man is redeemed man, one who delights to keep God's law. Law then is not an enemy as it was for the lawless, but the blessed way of life. On any other premise, Locke, Rousseau, or Orwell, man will be a lawbreaker and a rebel. A law society is only possible where sovereign grace rules and men, covenantally, see God's law as his grace to us.